right now on 5 on your side at 10.
The bi-state hit by hail as big as golf balls and baseballs. Tonight, people on both sides of the river are cleaning up and assessing the damage. It was all part of a storm system that prompted tornado warnings for the second time today. Good evening. I'm Mike Bush.
And I'm Kelly Jackson. Tonight, the severe weather threat has moved out. Most watches and warnings have lapsed. Let's get straight over to Chief Meteorologist Scott Connell, who has been here all day and night tracking the storms.
Well, when you wake up to tornado warning sirens going off, and then through the afternoon and evening, you have huge hail falling in and across the area. It certainly gets your attention, and that's what we've had around the region today. Things have settled considerably now. We are no longer in storm alert as the threat for severe weather has shifted far away to our east. The only warning of any type that we have is a residual flash flood warning here in Washington County, Illinois. 2 to 4 inches of rain and hail fell in this area, so there may be some minor ongoing flooding, but we haven't had any reports out of Washington County since that's been issued. This is how things evolved this afternoon and this evening as those thunderstorms started to develop across parts of central Missouri and to east central Missouri, including the St. Louis area. The initial storms easily produced large hail and caused a tremendous amount of hail damage across the area. The totals on that and how much it's going to cost to fix roofs, cars, and all of that, it's going to be up there. Those numbers are going to be high. A lot of scary clouds too, but the good news is we did not have a lot of tornado reports this evening. We had a few spin-ups early this morning, we believe, but this afternoon and this evening, even though the ingredients were all there, you got more of this, scary clouds and hail than anything else. Chris shared that picture from out around St. Charles 370 in Truman, and then this from Justin in South City as the clouds began to break from the west during the evening hours. Our threat of severe thunderstorms and rain in general, that's coming to an end now. We have no severe weather overnight. Tomorrow, skies will clear and it will be a bit cooler, but relatively quiet weather is ahead, Kelly, as we work our way towards the first official day of spring next week.
All right, Scott. One of the hardest hit areas tonight, O'Fallon, Missouri, where hail rained down. 5 on your side's Robert Townsend is live with a look at the extensive hail damage there, Robert.
Hey there, Kelly. Let me tell you, about 6 hours ago, the hailstorm pounded homes and lots of cars here in O'Fallon. Take a look at this. This damaged Honda now sits outside City Hall, and like so many, its front windshield is shattered, and the car, let me tell you, is covered with countless dents.
Well, we heard the alarms, the sirens, and so we took cover.
Just after 4 Thursday afternoon, Chris Henrik and his wife raced downstairs to the shelter in their cellar as a relentless hailstorm battered their home on Civic Park Court in O'Fallon, Missouri.
The noise was so intense when it hit the roof, it sounded like gunfire.
Henrik captured cell phone pictures of the golf ball-sized hail that pelted their cars.
But every car's got damage on it that was parked outside.
And damaged siding on their home and shattered a rear bedroom window.
There's holes, large holes in all corners of the house.
He says in just a matter of minutes, the storm also damaged dozens of his neighbors' cars and homes.
I was working and just started hearing the rain come and then a lot of loud thumps.
Paul Deschler went outside only to see the large balls of hail ruin his Honda Civic.
Yeah, the car is pretty bad. There's dents all along the roof of it in the back and in the front, and the windshield on the front of my car cracked as well too.
A few miles away, the merciless storm also left its mark on hundreds of employees' cars parked at this car shield business. Hours after the storm, crews were still towing some away. Back on Civic Park Court, neighbors relieved nobody was hurt during the wild weather.
That's great news, and you know, it's just stuff. That's just stuff. We'll fix it.
And no doubt homeowners are still at this hour assessing the damage and calling their insurance adjusters. We're live in O'Fallon, Missouri. I'm Robert Townsend, 5 on your side.
As soon as today's storms hit, many of you began capturing images where you live. From dark, ominous skies to golf ball-sized hail, our area seemed to see it all. Our Brent Solomon is just back from Staunton with a look at the damage there and from other parts of our viewing area. Brent?
That's right, Mike. Within just the past couple of hours, emergency responders cleared I-55 after having to rescue drivers who were left stranded. Large hail hitting their windshields, leaving them with nowhere to go in the middle of the day. A sudden emergency as golf ball-sized hail stops drivers in their tracks. This was the scene on I-55 near exit 37 in Staunton. Take a look at all of the hail that fell onto the shoulder Thursday evening. That same hail knocking out windshields and damaging nearly 30 vehicles. The storm started much earlier in the day. These images from the Marquette Park campground. Downed tree limbs, branches snapped in half. Along Illinois Route 109, much of the same. We asked those of you who could do so safely to send us images from where you live. Many of you followed suit, from sharp lightning to busted car windows on Bryan Road near I-70. There are photos of the hailstorm in full swing in Eolia. Many people stopping to take photos with the hail in hand. Listen to how hard it came down. In the end, perhaps a glimmer of hope. This rainbow surfacing after the storm in House Springs. And despite all of the damage and significant hail, fortunately, no reports of any injuries. Please send us your storm photos and videos by texting them to 314-425-5355.
And this round of storms comes after another storm system came through this morning. The National Weather Service says there was a possible tornado in Brighton, Illinois, north of Godfrey. We're told no one was hurt, but the storm knocked out power for thousands of people in Brighton and Medora. One person who lives in the area told us the storm woke him up.
It really started getting noisy and rough, and I couldn't see anything out the bedroom window facing the west. Stuff blowing around out there. I knew it was ugly, but it was out of my control. Been out here since 1983. This is the worst one I've seen.
The National Weather Service says it will survey the damage later on to determine if it really was a tornado.
Tonight, police in Nashville, Tennessee say they don't suspect foul play in the disappearance of a University of Missouri student. It has now been 6 days since 22-year-old Riley Strain was last seen. 5 on your side's Laura Barcheski has the latest from investigators tonight. Laura.
Kelly, today Nashville law enforcement agencies did an extensive search of the Cumberland River, but so far they haven't found anything. Investigators searched the woods near the river on foot, used helicopters and drones to fly above the area and boats up and down the river. They also used sonar technology, all to find 22-year-old Mizzou student Riley Strain. He was last seen leaving Luke Bryan's bar in downtown Nashville on Friday night. His parents say he was apparently trying to pay his tab at the bar, and the bartender asked him to leave. Surveillance video from several different locations showed Strain stumbling down the street and even falling down.
So we're utilizing absolutely every resource we can possibly think of at this point. There's no reason to believe that he's been a victim of a crime, and I can't possibly think of any other resource we could utilize that we haven't used or are using right now.
Police are still working to get more data from his phone and Apple Watch. Graduation is only a few weeks away, and Riley's parents are still hoping for the best outcome.
And it's now been more than a month since a Missouri Western University student from St. Louis disappeared in Kansas City. T. Montez Hurt was last seen on street camera video February 1st. His grandmother says he called her with some kind of mental distress and then went to a hospital. He disappeared after being released a few hours later. Hurt's family has conducted several searches in Kansas City and have handed out hundreds of flyers.
Tonight, Missouri's Attorney General is renewing his call for stricter punishments for children in juvenile custody. This comes after fights that left a Jennings student dead and a Hazelwood student in critical condition. Andrew Bailey talked specifically today about the 15-year-old girl in custody for the fight that left 16-year-old Kaylee Gain with severe brain injuries. The Urban League of Metro St. Louis calls teen violence a crisis. Leaders say they can help address violence with programs that identify neighborhood conflicts and by deploying resources to them.
There is no discretion here. The court has to hold a certification hearing. When you have teens who should know better, who do know better, and they're committing adult crimes, there needs to be adult punishment.
I think that we need to get out further, much further on the front end. Once a young person has committed a crime, then there are codes and there are laws that govern what should happen.
It's up to the juvenile courts to decide whether the 15-year-old in Hazelwood should be tried as an adult. A hearing is expected in the next few weeks. Tonight, St. Louis County Police are still looking for the people responsible for the death of 14-year-old Justin Brooks. The teen was stabbed Tuesday afternoon just down the street from his junior high in Jennings.
A St. Louis County pediatrician in practice for decades is in jail tonight, accused of prescribing former patients prescription drugs in exchange for sex acts or money. Dr. Craig Spiegel has been federally indicted. Court documents say he pressured women to engage in sex acts for money or opioids, dating as far back as 2014 at his Bridgeton office. Now, the Drug Enforcement Administration is investigating. So far, there are 25 known victims.
Dr. Spiegel knew that many of the women to whom he was prescribing to, by the way, many of those women were his pediatric patients when they were girls. He knew that they were experiencing very dangerous substance abuse disorders, and he continued to prescribe to them.
The DEA has set up a hotline for any other potential victims. The number 314-240-1026. You will remain anonymous.
A 5-year-old boy hit by a car right in front of his own home.
They hit Zane, and Zane flew about 7 feet in the air. I thought my son was dead.
The driver was never ticketed. His mother blames small-town politics. Tonight, the I-Team uncovers the inconsistencies in the police report.
The weather has settled down around St. Louis, and it's a much quieter weekend. Now those strong storms are tracking off to our east and southeast, causing problems in the Ohio Valley, and the cooler air is heading in here.
New tonight, a Truesdale, Missouri mom is demanding answers after her 5-year-old son was struck by a car.
She contacted our I-Team after learning the man who was behind the wheel 8 months ago has not been charged with a crime or even ticketed. Christine Byers reports from Warren County.
These days, Zane Cisneros looks and acts like any typical 6-year-old.
This is fun.
But on July 6, 2023, his mother, Katie Hansen, says she thought she lost him.
We walked him out to the edge of the driveway, and we saw a car coming, but they looked like they were slowing down. So we said, okay, buddy, it's okay to cross.
But it wasn't. The neighbor driving a white Suburban seen here on a neighbor's Ring camera struck him.
Somebody was in a vehicle who's not supposed to be down here, and they weren't paying attention, and they sped up and they hit Zane, and Zane flew about 7 feet in the air, and he landed on the street, and he was unconscious for almost a full minute.
He suffered a concussion.
I thought my son was dead. And whenever he woke up, and I heard him scream, that is a sound that I will never forget in my life.
Now, 8 months later, the driver still hasn't been charged or ticketed.
Why do you think he's not being held accountable?
Because his wife used to be an alderwoman for the city of Truesdale.
And you think that carries weight around here?
In a small town, it definitely does. Everybody knows everybody. And once you're in that position of power, you're still able to have some leverage.
5 on your side is not naming the driver because he hasn't been charged with a crime. The I-Team obtained Truesdale police reports, which show officers spelled Zane's name wrong, got his address wrong, wrote that a Tahoe hit Zane, but it was a Suburban, and first reported there was no posted speed limit, then reported the speed limit as 30 miles an hour when signs say it's 15.
I feel like they really dropped the ball on this and they let my son down.
The report also lists the driver of the vehicle as the victim of property damage on his vehicle caused by Zane's father.
He acted on emotion, and I think we all would have done the same in that situation, you know, especially thinking that your child could possibly be dead.
Katie Hansen says Truesdale police never did any type of accident reconstruction to determine whether the driver was speeding. The I-Team left messages for Truesdale Police Chief Casey Doyle almost every day for the past week, which he has not returned.
I feel like Zane would have had to die to have charges brought against the driver of the vehicle.
For now, she's thankful he's very much alive and acting like a typical little boy.
You think you could dunk?
For the I-Team, Christine Byers, 5 on your side.
And just a few hours ago, the Warren County Prosecuting Attorney's Office confirmed the only charges the police department applied for in this case were against Zane's father for first-degree property damage. Those charges were filed 3 months after the accident. Prosecutors told Christine they declined to issue those charges. If you have a tip for Christine and the 5 on Your Side I-Team, leave a voice message at 314-444-5231, or you can send an email to tips@ksdk.com. All calls and correspondence will be kept confidential.
All across St. Louis today, people came together to celebrate 314 Day. March 14th is an unofficial holiday around town honoring the city's area code. Locals celebrated by wearing St. Louis-inspired clothing. Area businesses offered special discounts, while bars held 314 Day parties. Those who work to promote St. Louis say the grassroots movement has blossomed into something big.
Really the last couple of years, it's started to take off. It's become kind of more mainstream, more organic in a way that every single person in the community can kind of find their own way to participate. Taking a moment to pause and look around and really appreciate everything that all the communities and all the neighborhoods and all the municipalities in St. Louis have to offer.
Some new arrivals in the Lou will now celebrate 314 Day as their birthday. Missouri Baptist and St. Luke's hospitals dressed up newborns in special onesies. The front says STL made. The back say born on 3/14/24.
They are adorable. And City Museum celebrated 314 Day by breaking the Guinness World Record for most people wearing underwear on their heads. 355 people wore tidy-whitey hats. That smashes the old record of 270 set in 2012 in Naperville, Illinois. City Museum also displays the unofficial world's largest underpants. There's a theme going right there.
I guess so. Well, it was a stormy day in the 314. Chief Meteorologist Scott Connell joins us now with that weather first forecast, and thank goodness, calmer skies behind all this.
Yeah, you know, we had a tremendous amount of hail, and the atmosphere was primed, it appeared to us, for tornadoes. And we were pretty confident. We had a few spin-ups very briefly early this morning that was somewhat unexpected. And then this afternoon and this evening, we know one storm had to touch the ground because we could see debris lofted into the radar. That was over Maystown down in Monroe County in Illinois. Flights in and out of Lambert, they've had to navigate those storms as well. But I tell you what, the atmosphere was primed for that severe weather today. And we were very fortunate that we didn't have more tornadic activity. As best we can tell, we've had very limited wind damage from tornadoes across the region. Still some heavy rain that occurred today, along with the hail. That caused some flooding problems east and southeast of St. Louis. The flash flood warning still in effect here in Washington County in Illinois, but we haven't had any reports of flooding, and the rain has let up there over the last hour and a half or so. So if there's any flooding, it should be pretty minor and should be on the way down. Earlier, you had the heavy rain during rush hour through much of the metro area and a lot of ponding with that. And of course, it was rough travel. It's hard to travel when you've got hail and torrential rain falling across much of the metro during rush hour. There's your line of showers and thunderstorms. Severe weather watches are all the way from Ohio back down into portions of Arkansas and down into Oklahoma. Severe weather, it's all out of our picture now. The cold front's coming in from the north and west. Behind that cold front, there may actually be a few scattered showers later on tonight into tomorrow morning very early, but nothing significant. We are done with our threat of severe weather. We're done with heavy rain. The hail, we're going to tally up how much that's going to cost over the next few days. Insurance carriers will get back to you on that. You can see tomorrow morning around the rush hour, a few spot showers perhaps, mainly spritzes and sprinkles. And then that's scooting out. We should clear out tomorrow afternoon. And it's mostly sunny to partly cloudy here on Saturday. Temperatures will be in the 60s. Sunday, we bounce it back to 54. So we're taking it down a bit Sunday and into Monday with some cooler air, but air that's a little more typical for this time of year rather than the 80-degree high that we saw today in St. Louis. 66/100ths of an inch of rain and hail at Lambert officially. Your rain gauge may vary in amounts due to the hail. I mean, really, you get one hailstone in there, you could pick up a quick half inch if it landed in the rain gauge and melted. There's a lot of hail big hail today. So fortunately, things are settling down. You know, you look at that next 10 days ahead, and there's nothing really that stands out as problematic.
The most important thing is that, as far as we know, nobody was injured.
Yeah, we don't have any reports of any injuries or worse. And, you know, you can fix things, can't fix people.
Right.
So really thankful we didn't see tornadoes spit out of these storms.
So true. Thank you, Scott. Frank is on deck with sports.
Well, the local teams are winning state titles in Columbia. Dr. Shavitz has a message for SLU fans, and we are the spring football capital of the world.
This 5 on Your Side Sports Report is sponsored by Telly Tire and Auto Centers, driving your way since 1942.
It's kind of crazy. Travis Ford woke up yesterday in New York trying to find a way to beat Duquesne. He goes to bed tonight in St. Louis trying to find out what he will do next. After 8 seasons at SLU, he was fired, but he's beloved by his players.
He just looked out for him. He always put his players first. He always put, the people he cared about first. And he's always been a good dude, man. One of the greatest people I've ever met, greatest coaches. I mean, even if he doesn't coach after this year, he still will go down in history as, one of the greatest coaches that could ever coach here. So
always looking out, always want to know how you were doing. Just always wanted the best for you. Just always would check in on you whenever you need him. The door was always open, and he was always there for you. So just an overall great guy.
Potential replacements left to right: Chris Mack, Bruce Weber, Bryce Drew, Blake Ahern, Darian DeVries, and Josh Schertz. Today, I talked to the guy who will have a role in the new hire, the man whose name is on the building.
Moving forward, up and beyond, and just hold on to your seats because we're going places. This is the beginning of what's going to be a really exciting basketball program for the foreseeable future. We're committed to making this a great program, and I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure we achieve that goal.
Blake Ahern was once snubbed by SLU as a player. That was a big mistake, as Blake scored 1,700 points and became the greatest free throw shooter in college basketball history at Missouri State. Look it up. Then in the NBA, he's one of the few to play for Greg Popovich and Pat Riley. Then Blake won a championship in the G League as a head coach and has spent the last 4 years coaching in Memphis as an assistant. He knows everybody in our town. He has European connections because he played there too. He's one of the most organized human beings on the planet. Blake already has his staff picked out and his vision written out. And listen closely. Of every coach on that list for the SLU job, make no mistakes, Blake Ahern wants it the most, and that should count for something too. Blake's former school, DeSmet, trying to win the Class 5 state title tonight in Jeff City. And it helps that Dylan Duff, the quarterback, chose the first quarter to have the best 8 minutes of his basketball life. We're talking 5 3-pointers. And Riley Massey led the way with 21 points on darting moves to the rim. The DeSmet Spartans have won their 6th state title with a 75-56 victory. All is right with the world now.
When I first got the job here, the one hashtag I put out there was, mission back to tradition. I put it on there for 7 straight years, and we were knocking on the door. Tradition was back. We've been relevant, but to get over the hump and win a state championship was why I came here, and why I know a lot of these guys came here is to be part of something like this.
Burroughs coach Dr. Jacob Jorg borrowed Mike Bush's suit tonight, Class 5 state title, Lutheran St. Charles, and it helped he had Allie Turner. She scored 24 points. Turner's just a great player. Burroughs wins the Class 5 state title game 57-41. And congrats to Lift for Life, who beat Park Hill Central tonight 75-57 to win the Class 4 state title. What a day for St. Louis basketball.
Taking Flight, Card Spring Training, sponsored by Wood Basement Systems.
The story in Jupiter, Lance Lynn. He went 4 innings, struck out 4, gave up no runs, and the Mets and Cardinals played to a scoreless tie. Well, it's official. They announced today the UFL championship game will be at the Dome June 16th. Where else would you have the title game than at the spring football capital of the world, St. Louis, Missouri?
We talk about the numbers, and the numbers aren't important. It's the energy. It's different. It's just different inside that building. And I can remember that from my broadcast days. It wasn't the biggest crowds, but boy, they were smart. They were loud. They knew when to be loud. So I can't wait for my first game here.
And if the Battlehawks are in that game, I wonder if they could get 64,000.
Wow, that would be unbelievable.
They do have a lot of fans.
Yep.
All right, Frank, thanks. We'll be right back. Frontier Airlines is giving some passengers more room. The airline has introduced Up Front Plus seating. It eliminates the middle seat in the front 2 rows. The additional cost starts at $49.
Amazon is adding a Prime Day-like event later this month. The e-commerce giant is holding its first ever big spring sale from March 20th through the 25th. The 6-day sale will feature deals on spring fashion, fitness, and household items.
And there you have it. 5 on your side at 10. The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon is next.
Start your day with the Today in St. Louis team beginning at 4 a.m. Have a great tomorrow.